What you want is the effect. What you're going to put into action is the cause. And that action, that cause, can either be the outer game actions or the inner game actions. And you need both. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Unstoppable Woman podcast. I'm Amira Alvarez. I am the founder and CEO of the Unstoppable Woman, and it is great to have you here. Thank you so much for being a part of our community and listening in, sharing the podcast with your friends, and leaving us reviews. That's always super, super helpful. So if you're inspired to do that today, I would love that. We would love that. The whole team would love that. Okay, let's get started. Today we have part 2 of our New Year's business launch. Let's start the year off right podcast series. And today we are talking about what we fill the vacuum with. Okay, so in the previous episode, in part 1 of this series, we talked about releasing what didn't work from last year, letting go of the baggage that we have, letting go of what we hold on to that isn't serving us. This is the law of sacrifice. You have to let go of things of a lower nature to let in things of a higher nature. And we want to be really intentional about what we bring in. So now we need to do that part. So we've let go of things of a lower nature and we want to bring in things of a higher nature. So if you're looking for part 1, that is episode 273. We'll have a link in the show notes. But you can also find that, by just scrolling back on the list of the podcast episodes. So nature abhors a vacuum. When you let go of what's not working, you need to actively, consciously, choose what you want to fill it with. Otherwise, you will fill it with the least common denominator of what you experience. Let me say that in a different way. You'll fill it with what you're used to. You'll fill it with the norm. You'll fill it with the thing that is habitual to you that you haven't given much thought to. And this could be the old ways that are not working. Now, sometimes they are the ways that are working, and we want to do more of that. So not all habits are bad. Some habits are great habits, or some unconscious patterns are great for us. They serve us. But if your unconscious patterns are driving the show and they're filling the space that you've just freed up by letting go of what's not working, then you haven't really upped your game. You haven't really changed anything. You haven't really grown because you've released something, but then filled it with something very similar. Okay, so this is your subconscious pattern just filling that void. And instead, we want to get very intentional, very conscious, and choose what we fill that space with, that free space. Once you let go of what's not working, what are we filling that free space with? And this is where your greatest power comes in. This is your power to choose. You want to make conscious choices. And there's so much on this that we're not going to get to in this episode because the power of choice is multidimensional and has so much to it. And the thing that you do need to know for this episode is that oftentimes your subconscious is driving your ability to understand what your choices are. But nonetheless, I'm going to give you some questions to ask yourself today to help you step out of that closed loop and into a higher level of awareness so that you can make a conscious choice about what you want instead of being driven by old, not necessarily good subconscious patterns. So that is the focus for today. And to do that, we are going to look both backwards and forwards. We're going to look back into this past year, 2021, and we're going to look forward into 2022. So we're going to do a multi-directional, like visioning process here, or evaluation process. Both hold true. So we're going to look both backwards and forwards using the law of cause and effect. And we're going to start looking backwards at this past year, 2021. So we are going to ask a better question or some better questions so that you can aggregate the data and really make good choices for yourself. The first question that we're going to ask is, what worked last year? What were your successes last year? Go back through your calendar, back through your memory, go back through your emails, go back through the initiatives that you did, go back looking at your team, go back looking at your revenue. What worked? Really hunt and peck. Go looking for the things that you're proud of, the things that really were successes and that really worked. What were your biggest successes around team, around sales, around marketing, around launches, around processes or systems, or reorganizing the business? What were all the successes that you experienced this year? And you can do this beyond your business. You can do this in all aspects of your life, but let's just start with your business for right now. What were you really proud of? And then ask yourself, what led to those successes? What led to those moments? What were the inner game changes and the outer game actions that occurred to lead to the effect or the results that you had, that you were proud of, that you were really happy with, that you felt were successes in your business? And there are always some successes. Do not ignore the successes. Do not say everything went to hell in a handbasket, because that's just not true. So really look at where things went well and what led to those successes. So for instance, if you hired better team this year, if you know that, if you look around your organization and you go, wow, I've got a crew of people working with me that are at such a higher level, you're going to be like, oh, that was a success. What led to that? What were the inner game actions and the outer game actions? So outer game actions around this might be, you hired a recruiter, you hired a hiring agency, you wrote better job descriptions, you raised the compensation for this level or this position, you did better evaluations, the interview process and the testing process was dialed in. You understood the things to look for, and you held the standard there, and you didn't compromise on that. These are all outer game actions that could lead to better results, often do. Now, what about the inner game actions around this? Well, maybe you held yourself to a higher standard, and you said, I'm not going to hire people who don't fit this criteria. And you made an internal choice not to compromise. Or maybe you simply valued yourself more so that you made those better decisions for yourself. So when we value ourselves more, we start seeing that hiring a recruiter or writing a better job description or insisting that the interview process works in a particular way, or you vet people in a particular way. All of that comes from a level of self-worth, of valuing yourself so that you insist that things happen at a higher or better level. Okay. So what about one of the things that happened that was really successful for you was that you increased the number of leads coming into your business? That would be great, right? That's a marketing process that worked. What led to that? Were there different outer game actions that you took? Were you more visible? Did you run ads? Did you hire a better copywriter? Did you show up on social media in a different way? Were you more visible on social media? Did you do Facebook Lives or LinkedIn Lives or go to more networking events? Where were these leads coming from? What were the outer game actions that you took that created these results? And one of the things that I teach my clients to do all the time is make love to the numbers. Don't be afraid of looking at the numbers, your data. And if you are not tracking where your leads are coming from, you need to start doing that today. That would be a great new choice, new decision for you to make on the outer game side of things. Now, you have to be someone different on the inside in order to take those outer game actions. Who do you need to be to track your numbers? Who do you need to be to make love to your numbers? Who do you need to be not to be afraid of the numbers? What kind of what kind of person would you have to own being? What kind of decisions would you have to make from that place in order to really aggregate the data and not be afraid of it? Okay. Because it's so important to know where your leads are coming from. You can't run a business. You can't make marketing decisions if you don't know what's working and what's not working. So understanding this is so critical. If you're proud of yourself because you made more sales this year, booyah, right? This is a great way. It's the only way to increase your income is to make more sales, more or higher level sales, right? You need to call in more money. So if you're in business for yourself and you're someone who's going for more and wants to make more money, then you have to make more sales, better sales, higher level sales, all of that. So, if that's you, if you look back over this past year, over 2021 and go, wow, my sales increased, then you're going to want to look at, well, what changed? What did I do differently? What were the outer game things that shifted so that I made those sales different? An outer game shift would be raising your prices or learning sales at a deeper level, studying sales, understanding how to speak to objections. All of those things are outer game shifts. Maybe you created a whole new sales process. Maybe you learned exactly what to say in a sales conversation that was the most effective for calling in your client. All of these are outer game tactics. On the inner game, did you change who you were being on the inside? Did you see yourself as more confident, more effective, more worthy? Did you actually show up differently in the sales conversation because you saw yourself differently? That would be an inner game shift. They're related. I'm speaking of them as if they're separate, but they're absolutely 100% related because you only change on the inside when you believe it's possible to be that woman and you start acting as her. You start acting, so taking that action on the outer game as that person who is worthy, who is confident, who is effective. Okay. And this is so critical in sales. So these are just 3 examples, but there are many, many examples, and you're going to have your own unique examples. So I want you to go and triangulate that data around what worked last year and why. What were the outer game shifts and the inner game shifts? Be super, super clear about the law of cause and effect, because then you can say, okay, I'm going to do more of this. It won't be random anymore. It will be like, I'm going to do more of this. That's so helpful. Then you can fill the vacuum with being very intentional about what you're doing, because you know these are the things that worked. I want to do more of this. You're going to want to increase what's working. And then you're going to ask yourself, well, how could I take that's already working? And if I just do the same thing at sort of higher quantity, if you will, more of it, what would it look like to take it to the next level? What would be the next level of this same inner game or outer game activity? What could you do to increase that, to step it up, to up level? So that's us using the law of cause and effect, looking backwards, right? Evaluating the past year. Now, what about looking forward? We want to do that as well. So now you want to think, okay, what's my vision for this coming year? What is my business goal, my dreams, my vision, my plan? What do I want to achieve? If you haven't actually articulated that, I would go back and listen to some of our episodes on planning. We recently did some back a few months back. So that would be episode 261 and episode 265. So go check those out. We'll put those in the show notes as well. But here for today, you have a plan. If you don't have a plan, you need to work out a plan. You don't have a vision, you need to claim one. Okay. What do you really want? Own it. Let's put it down on paper. You're going to write out your 2022 desires, dreams, plans, vision in a very succinct list. Just boom, 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 boom. Bullet point it. We're not going into a lot of detail here. Just bullet point it. You know what these bullet points represent. And then you're going to ask yourself, well, what would I need to do in order to create that? What are the ideas that I have in order to create those results. And you might not know what they are, but you can imagine, you can use your intuition. You could ask yourself, what would so-and-so do? And you can come up with ideas for what the causes for those results that you desire, those effects that you desire would be. Now, there are some additional ways that you can find out that information. Yes, you can use your imagination. That's one of your most powerful tools. And you can also do research. You can do research online. We live in a day and age where Google is our friend. YouTube is our friend. Go do a bunch of research. You can interview people who have done what you want to do. And that's a type of research as well. Okay. So you can do that. You can try it out and you can learn from experience. Okay. So when you're coming up with the cause and effect, you might not have a validated plan yet. It's full of uncertainty because you haven't done it yet, but you can get closer and feel more confident about it, about the causes that you're going to choose to put into effect by doing the research and by taking small steps and experiencing what happens and getting feedback. Okay. And working with someone who's done it before is a huge way to close the gap on time. So this is working with a mentor or an expert or a consultant or a coach in the field that you're in to help you shortcut your learning curve. So all of those are ways that you'd be able to validate your plans. And again, the plans for going forward are, what are the outer game actions that you need to take? These could look like accountability or discipline or keeping your word or particular actions around a launch or a marketing initiative or a sales plan or something like that. Hiring, systems, all of that. Business is full of all of this stuff. Or it can be an inner game action, if you will, which is who you're being. Okay. Do you need to raise your self-worth? Do you need to raise your belief in yourself, your confidence level? Okay. Do you need to start being a bigger version of yourself and stop being small or shrinking back? Who do you need to be in order to execute on the desires and the plans that you have to actually do those things? So you may not have a crystal ball yet, but you can come up with a pretty good sense of what you need to do. And then, like I said, go and validate it. Go ask your mentors, your experts, the people in your field. Go do research and go start taking action and getting feedback from the experience that you're gaining. All of these are really ways to start that cause and effect process and not be delayed in trying to get it perfect or exactly right or stalling out because you don't trust yourself. These are ways to start closing the gap on time and start filling the vacuum of 2022 with a clear intentional plan that's based on the law of cause and effect. What you want is the effect. What you're going to put into action is the cause. And that action, that cause, can either be the outer game actions or the inner game actions. And you need both. So you need to map all of this out looking backwards. What worked in 2021 that I'm going to bring into 2022 and take to the next level. And what is new for me in 2022? And what do I actually need to learn, do, be, experience, grow into in order to execute on those plans? What new actions do I need to put into place to get those effects? So with that, I'm Amira Alvarez. Thank you so much for listening and for watching, and I'll catch you in the next episode. Have an amazing 2022. Can't wait to see you rock it out. Take care. Bye. Hey, thanks so much for joining us and being part of the Unstoppable Woman movement. We have got a ton of free resources for scaling your business at theunstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. And you can find that link in the description below. So go ahead and check those out. And we'd also love your help in getting our message out to more and more women. If you'd be willing to share this video with all the unstoppable women in your life, that would be fantastic. And while you're at it, hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Reviews, likes, and comments are greatly appreciated. We go in and read them all. So thank you for those. And thanks for listening, and be unstoppable.